Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're diving into a story that is as heartbreaking as it is a cautionary tale for every parent who has ever put their children's needs above their own. This narrative was shared with us by a member of our community. A woman we'll call Martha to protect her privacy. It's a story about the key conflict that many of us whisper about, but few dare to confront. When does a child's love turn into a sense of entitlement that can destroy a home? I never thought my own flesh and blood would look at me as an expiration date. Martha wrote in her letter. These are heavy words, but they are the reality for thousands of seniors today. Before we get into the details of how Martha found herself fighting for her own living room, I want to remind you that this is a safe space. We share these stories not to judge, but to empower and learn from one another. Phase 1: The Foundation of Sacrifice. Martha lived in a beautiful, 4-bedroom colonial house in a quiet suburb of Virginia. She and her late husband, Arthur, spent 35 years paying off that mortgage. Every brick represented a double shift at the school where she taught, every garden rose represented a summer spent saving instead of vacationing. The house wasn't just wood and nails, it was our legacy, Martha explained. When Arthur passed away 5 years ago, her son, David, became her world. David was a charismatic man, a high achiever, but someone who always seemed to be chasing the next big thing. When David's tech startup hit a rough patch 3 years ago, Martha didn't hesitate. She signed over a significant portion of her retirement savings to keep him afloat. At the time, she told herself, "What is money for, if not to help the people you love?" But looking back, she realizes that was the first crack in the dam. By solving his problems with her sacrifice, she inadvertently taught him that her resources were his resources. Phase 2: The Grand Proposal. The conflict truly ignited 18 months ago. David and his wife, Sarah, approached Martha with a proposal that sounded like a dream. "Mom," David said, sitting her down with a warm cup of tea, "we're worried about you being here all alone. The house is too big, the stairs are getting dangerous, and we miss you. Why don't we move in? We can help with the taxes, the maintenance, and you'll have your grandkids around every day." Martha was hesitant. She cherished her independence, but the lure of family was too strong. Sarah, with a professional smile, added, "And to make things easier for the future, for inheritance and tax purposes, maybe we should update the deed to include David's name. It'll save so much legal trouble later." Martha, trusting her son implicitly, agreed. She thought she was securing her family's future. In reality, she was signing away her leverage. Phase 3: The Slow Erasure. The first few months were a honeymoon phase. But slowly, the atmosphere began to shift. It started with the clutter. Sarah insisted that Martha's antique furniture pieces she had collected with Arthur was dusty and outdated. One weekend while Martha was visiting a friend, her favorite velvet armchair was moved to the garage and replaced by a sleek, gray sectional. "It's for the kids, Mom," David said when she protested. "It's easier to clean." Then came the kitchen. Martha, who loved to bake, found herself pushed out. Sarah bought new high-end appliances and reorganized everything. Martha couldn't find her own measuring cups. When she mentioned it, Sarah sighed loudly, "Martha, we're just trying to modernize the place. You should be relaxing, not worrying about the kitchen." The word, relaxing, started to feel like a code for disappearing. Martha was being erased from her own life, one room at a time. Phase 4, the breaking point. The key conflict exploded during a dinner in late autumn. David and Sarah had invited a real estate agent over without telling Martha. They sat around the mahogany table Martha had polished for decades, discussing market trends and downsizing options. "Wait," Martha interrupted, her voice trembling. "Why are we talking about selling? This is my home." The room went silent. David put down his fork and looked at her with a mix of pity and frustration. "Mom, we've discussed this. This house is an asset. If we sell now, we can buy a massive place with an in-law suite in a cheaper area. And I can put the extra capital into my new venture. It's a win-win." "A win-win for who?" Martha asked. "I don't want an in-law suite. I want my house. I want the room where your father died. I want the garden I planted." Sarah narrowed her eyes. "Martha, let's be realistic. You can't even walk up the stairs without huffing. And legally, David is a co-owner. We have the right to liquidate the asset." Phase 5, the legal and emotional war. That night, Martha didn't sleep. She realized that the paperwork she had signed wasn't just a simple update. It had given David significant power over the property. She felt a deep, biting shame. How could she have been so blind? She spent the next few weeks secretly meeting with an old friend who was a retired lawyer. They discovered that while David was on the deed, there were certain stipulations regarding life estate rights that he had overlooked. Martha had to make a choice. Let them steamroll her and move into a tiny back room in a new house, or fight her son in a way that would likely end their relationship. She chose to fight, not out of greed but for her dignity. The legal battle was ugly. David accused her of being senile and unfit. He used the very instances of her being forgetful, which were actually just moments of stress, as evidence against her. The son she had nurtured was now a predator in a suit. Phase 6, the quiet victory. In the end, Martha won. A judge ruled that because of the specific way the initial deed was structured and the evidence of undue influence during the signing, Martha would retain full residency rights for the rest of her life. And the sale could not proceed without her explicit, notarized consent. David and Sarah moved out the next week. They took most of the new furniture, leaving the house feeling hollow and echoing. "The silence was the loudest thing I've ever heard," Martha said. The cost of peace. Martha still lives in that colonial house. She's brought her velvet armchair back from the garage. But the phone doesn't ring on Sundays. She hasn't seen her grandchildren in nearly a year. David has told the rest of the family that Martha is unstable and difficult. Is it a happy ending? Martha says yes. "I lost a son I thought I knew, but I found the woman I used to be. I am not an asset to be liquidated. I am a human being with a history." This story is a reminder to all of us: love your children, but protect your boundaries. Generosity should never come at the expense of your sovereignty. Now, I want to hear from you. This is the hardest part of being a parent, knowing where the line is. If you found out that your children were planning your life behind your back, would you choose the comfort of family, even if it meant losing your voice? Or would you stand your ground like Martha, even if it meant spending your golden years in silence? Please, share your stories in the comments. We need to talk about this. Let's support each other. Don't forget to like this video if you think Martha did the right thing. It helps the algorithm reach more people who might be in her shoes right now.